Hey guys, I just wanted to start making a video on the next clock that I got. This was a thoughtful friend who got one of these and some clocks that he got and thought maybe I would like to have this, so I was able to get it. It's had a little silver leaf applied at some point, I think. I don't think that was original on the thing. It says Junghans down here. There's a butterfly up there. That's the second timer and the alarm. The face is in really good condition. The glass looks original. The trim inside is in really good shape. The hands are in really good shape. So I'm really pleased with that. The handle is fused. This glass is pretty dirty to be able to see through. Here's the back, original key. And this side's wound and this side is blown out. So these movements normally had these little arch bars right here that stuck down and kept the springs from being able to go through the glass if they broke, or just hurt people in general if they broke. But these were not on it, and they weren't on it at the time because this would not have happened. So I'm going to get that spring out of there. It's a music box one. Real excited about it. It's pretty cool. This little piece was loose. As I turned and looked at things, it was rattling around down here at the bottom, and then there was a little screw wedged down here. I can't get the light right for you guys to see it. There's a little space down here, and the screw I could just see the head of sitting in that little space. So I was able to get the screw and put this back on. This is the top arm of the worm screw fan. The fan is not with it, but Gene thought he might be able to find it. And it goes from that little arm down to here, so the fan goes up and down this way and turns. It's real long. It's like a 2-inch arbor on that thing. But anyway, I was excited to put a little oil on it and get it ticking, and it did stay ticking for a few minutes at a time. It's my little second hand turning, so that was promising, considering this thing probably hadn't seen any oil in 75 years, because this thing is 100 years old. There's a number down here that I saw in the rust a little bit. It says A24 and an S, so I started searching for the Junghans and the A24S. And let me show you what I found. And there goes my light. It just went kisplooey. This top picture has the exact same symbol. I don't know if you can even see that. It's not wanting to focus. Anyway, an A24 and an S. And this person was on the NAWCC site asking about that. And his clock below the second hand has a TH. And mine has that little butterfly. So that made me curious, because it doesn't have the star shape with the J in it. And what I learned, this is a Junghans Joker clock. The A24 A means it was made in the first half of the year, and 24 is the year 1924. And I doubt that. I question that, because every one of these that I've seen, it says A24. So I'm thinking it's a model number more than a year. The S is Schwenningen Manufacturing. That was the town it was made in. And the butterfly on the front tells you that also. Thomas Haller, Haller, had a factory there that merged with Junghans in I can't remember the year, 1908 maybe, I can't remember. Anyway, by the 1920s, Junghans had taken over his company, and the TH disappeared, and so the clocks that were made in Schwenningen were made in the Thomas Haller factory. That company stayed working. And then the Junghans clock had the star, and they were made in Stromberg. So I thought that was pretty cool, pretty interesting. So I was excited to get this clock, and I am ready to start taking this apart, see how I'm going to get this broken spring out. I'm definitely going to have to get a new one because it looks like it just, the biggest part of it just split. So there's no, the loop is still on the loop end down there, but it's broken off. I'm going to have to get a new one. And that's what happens when they get rusty and dirty and you don't put any oil on them. And that's sad because, look, it's open. I put some oil on there and I didn't even have to take anything apart. What other cool thing about this, now the little, I think I've seen two different pictures. This picture, the one picture I showed you a second ago, had just a press fit little button that you turn this hand with, and another one that was a Joker model had a bigger dial that had the time on it, and it went down here at the bottom. I don't think this model had that because you wouldn't be able to see the A and the arrow pointing that way. I think it had the little press fit thingy right there. But anyway, this top button says slow, and watch that little arm when I turn it. It goes up here on this little round wheel that's underneath there, and it'll make the music play slower. So that's a cool little feature on this clock. It says Junghans, Germany. That says H for the hour. That says A for the alarm. Wind time goes that way. And this says M and alarm that way. I don't know what the M, why it says M, but music that way. Music alarm. So let's get started. My plan is to take the whole case apart to take the movement out. Since I have the issue with the spring, and also because the case needs so much work. So a lot of times you can come in the bottom, loosen the nuts, and take the movement out. These have already been removed. There's two at the top up here that don't have a screw in them. I'll be getting some screws. To get it all put back where it'll stay like it should. There should be a date code on the bottom of this. But I was not able to see one. It's a little bit warped, so it's kind of holding the wood on. I don't know what the little cutout's for. Maybe they used the same model when they had the bell. I don't know. That one apparently is a replacement. It's not the same size as the other ones. Alright. 2 screws holding. That's a significant damper right there. It is huge. Look how tall that is. They're usually real short. That's really different. Let's see what song it might play. There's dust bunnies stuck to everything. But let's see if it'll play a tune for us. Alright, here's the beginning. One broken tooth, but it doesn't look like it touches anything. They may have cut it off, or it may have broken. Looks like it broke. But anyway, that should clean up nicely. Okay, so normally you could just take these 2 screws out and slip the movement out. I'm going to try to remove these 4 nuts and take the whole case apart. Okay, I've taken those off. Stand this back up. There's one little wire down here for your door. Usually it's bent over. The whole door is bent. It doesn't close because the wire is bent that goes down there. So if you force it, that's what's peeling my door open right there. Anyway, let's see if we can just lift off the whole thing without messing up our... Alright, there's one. There's the other one. It came off around that spring pretty good. There's our glass. I thought the glass had a big chip in it in the corner. It does have a little tiny chip, but I thought it had a crack. But it had a little piece of paper. So the glass is going to clean up really nice. And sometimes you can get these to turn. These look like they have a little screw head on them actually. I might be able to loosen them up a little bit to turn these and get glass that fits them. This is just a flat piece of glass that someone put in when one broke instead of the beveled, so it's a little bit thicker. It's not wanting to sit down in there all the way. And this is in really nice shape. Alright, so there's the whole top. That's the screws that are supposed to be holding the top plate right there. So if I unscrew these, the handle will come off. The handle's like corroded in place, but it's a nice brass handle. This gold leaf that somebody put on. You can tell on the bottom here, along here, is the chrome type gold, silver shine that used to be on it. So the gold leaf, I'm sure, was shiny. It's just doesn't give you the depth of the original finish. Still have to decide what I'm going to do with that. I don't know yet. Alright, there's our movement. And that was me oiling it in the case and kind of hit and miss half of the drops over here. It'll run for a little bit. And then it stops. Hairspring looks like it's in really good shape. And when it's clean, it's going to move a whole lot more. This right here is where the fan goes. There's a little dust cover right here, so that's what made me look like this little piece was what was loose in the box, laying at the bottom, and it had this little dust cover on it and a little pivot hole, so I said, and that's the only place it could go. I saw on the pictures online the same little backing, so I put it back up here, and it's got a long worm screw arbor for that little fan to turn. But overall, for it to be 100 years old, it is really in nice shape. For it obviously to not be oiled. You know how much pressure you would have to get on these springs to make them break? They're rusty. Like they have, this clock probably was never serviced after it was bought. That'd be my guess. Ever. Like never one time taken in and oiled. Alright, hands would be next. They should be pressure fitted on. I love the little butterfly. I've not seen that on any others of these Joker clocks that I've looked at. So that makes it really unique. Alright, pressure fitted hand. Same with these. These are tiny. Let me get a little pair of tweezers. I put a little tiny drop of oil here and here, and while I'm letting that sit for a minute, I'm going to go ahead and take the base off. It's like it's got sawdust in it. Alright, there's my bottom plate. Remember what it looks like with all that rust on it, because it's going to look a whole lot better soon. There's that little A24 and the S. Might be some other stuff on here. Who knows under all that dirt. Alright. Should be some pins holding this face on, and there are. One, two, there's only two, one on the top, one on the bottom. This one is supposed to have a pin, but there's not one in it, so we have to replace this pin when we finish. Alright, let me see if I can slowly wiggle off these hands. That little piece of paper I found went right there, that was that I thought was a crack in the glass. It's got a little wiggle to it, so that's good. I don't want to mess the paper up. That one pulled out all the way. It's on a long pressure fitted tube with little cuts in the sides. So that little hand is actually attached to a longer post. So maybe the other one is also. It's hard to tell looking underneath. Okay. It does look the same. I've got it up a tiny bit, and it does look like it's got one of those tubes on it also. Okay. Let me think of something to try. Right, I just slipped a couple cards up under this so I could pry on it without prying on the face. And get under with a small screwdriver and not break anything off. I put a little more oil on it. It is not wanting to come off. The hand is turning because I'm looking through here and nothing else is turning. Wow. It is off, but it is not on the little pipe. So I'll have to flatten that and super glue it back on there or something. I'll figure out something when we get to that point. These look like some nails that have been sharpened down. They're wicked looking, man. Oh, one more at the top I didn't see. So 2 at the top and 2 on the sides. There's some of that oil I just kind of stuck back and did the best I could without being able to really see where the holes were. This looks like it was kind of like a shiny paper at some point along the edges here, and the way it's got a little bit of a cracked look to it, like maybe a shellacked paper. Alright, well, here's our movement. Very similar to the other ones I've worked on. This piece pushes in and keeps the music side from playing. And then when this turns enough to let it drop off of here and pop down, this comes forward that little bit and lets this side play. This side is actually finally turning. It wasn't before. That's the little damper right there. This knob. A little tiny damper in there. That knob. It looks like it's got some felt or leather or something on the metal right there that moves when you turn the hand. And then it just rubs up against this little roller to slow it down, make it play slower. Alright, time to get this spring contained and this one. Even though it's broken in two places. I can see another break right there. So this is the break on the outside, and then it broke inside first. That probably this side was bad enough that it made it break out there too. But anyway, I'm going to get a zip tie on that and that so I can take the movement apart, these little nuts. I'm going to get some pictures first. I noticed something else about this that's really unique. There's this piece of metal coming up holding the spring down flat, and the actual gear for it is way up here. On this side it's typical, and I was able to get a small clamp on this side. Your gear is here, your click spring, and your spring is right under it, and your arbor comes out for you to wind it. But on this side it's separated, so your gear and your click are up here. Your arbor comes down and your spring is down here at the bottom. Your gear comes in between. And then this bar holds your spring down in place. But anyway, I can't really, with the safeties in here, or actually the arbors for other gears, which are probably bent. I'm going to have to check those out good. But that is tied up against it. I can't get any kind of zip tie around there. But it is turning, and I think I'm going to be able to just kind of feed this out to me and unwind it and get the broken piece out of there. And that's just going to leave a little center piece that doesn't have much pressure on it. I'm almost to the break. This part of the spring doesn't look too bad. This part's really in bad shape. But anyway, that's where it broke up in there. So that just leaves that little piece that doesn't have any tension on it. And the other end of that loop. So I'm ready to take these things off the front. It looks like when I get the alarm feature off on this side, this whole piece will slip through that's got the spring on it. The other model that I worked on, the HAC one, it would not come through the plate without taking off the pressure fitted spacer and the pin that's under it, and then the spring had to come off, and it was really hard to compress and get it back on. So I'm hoping that this one is going to come through. On the very end of this is the rest of that alarm hand that wouldn't come off. It still does not want to come off. And that is why the hand came off and not this. Alright, well, anyway, I'm going to take these front pieces off, get my pictures and all that stuff, start taking this apart. I went ahead and cleaned up the music box, and it was late, so I just stopped and didn't do anything else, and this little guy ran all night. So that's pretty cool. It was only running for a couple minutes at a time, but once I got the spring off, whatever it was putting pressure on, it let the whole thing start working. But I want to try to play this music song for you because I think it's one of the prettiest ones I've ever heard out of a music box. There's music boxes out there that play records that are flat, that have all these little things pecked on them, and they sound like symphonies. They're beautiful, and they're very expensive and old, and they take up a lot of room, and they're like record players with vinyl. People got rid of them, and but anyway, this one played a really pretty melody. It's hard to turn it at the right speed, but this one has more little spiky things sticking up than any one that I've cleaned before, and I think I counted 36 teeth, so it's got a lot of range of things it can do. And then the super high damper back here. Sometimes on the back of the comb, the full width of the comb will have little things on them to split and let them do like a half an octave when they're real fancy. This one had 3 like that. So anyway, I just thought it was really cool the way it sounded. It's definitely one of the classical symphony writers' songs. I wish I knew which one it was because I like it. But anyway, it's time to start on this little guy. Okay, I'm still having my morning coffee. Oh, let's see what side. We want to start on this side. I looked at my, if you look at the video from the HAC, Carriage Clock, Hamburg American Clock Company, their alarm was screw threaded like this one is, and so I'm going to be looking for some kind of little something that I can thread on there to turn this alarm. It's pretty hard to turn. This one should be pressure fitted. Oh, come on. Something needs to cooperate this morning. Oh, golly. These just normally push off and on. This is like the alarm hand. It is not even budging. Alright, I'm going to take this off camera. Well, this pressure fitted one, I got my little bent screwdrivers and got off. This does not want to come off. It doesn't unscrew off. It doesn't pry off. And look underneath, and there's a, we'll look at it. I'll show you when I get it apart, but it doesn't look like it. We can investigate it more when it's apart because it doesn't really interfere with the movement plates coming apart. So So this music activating wheel on the other two these that I worked on was pressure fitted on. This one is actually pinned on. I guess everything on this clock is going to be challenging. I thought, great, it's pinned on. That'll be easier. It's not. Okay, so far a clock 2, Cheryl 2. It is not cooperating with me. Anyway, I don't think I have to get this off to get the movement apart either. So I'm going to leave that. I can't get that pin out. It is so thin. The way they tapered those nails, they're so thin I can't push on the other end. It just would flatten it off and hold it in place. So I can get a grip on it, but it won't budge. So anyway, that one's going to stay. If you take your alarm movement and turn it to where this little stepped bridge drops off in that little pin drops into that little step, that's when the alarm would normally be going off, and that gives you the most play in your pieces. Takes the pressure off of this from this little spring behind it. That's also a little shut off at the end of it. So I turn it to there, push down. Hopefully this pin will come out. Yay! One pin came out. So this is like the most important pin because it's the right strength and the right length to make your alarm work. So I'm very careful not to lose that one. And then I guess one of the first original E-clips, except in this case it would be a C-clip. First one I've seen on one of these. They all use pins and nuts and bolts and such. So let's see how these come off. Hopefully they come off a little easier than a Schmeckenbecker clip. They are kind of wavy. They're not flat. Ouch. Okay. I need a bigger flat tip screwdriver. I don't think it's a good day for me to work on clocks. I'm not very coordinated today, apparently. Oh, God, this is unbelievable. This little clock's kicking my butt. Okay, it's off. So this is like a washer that they bent a little bend into. I don't know if they did that intentionally beforehand or as they notched out a little C. But there you go, guys. One of your original E-clips. Somebody came up with that. Lots of dust bunnies. I think whoever had this had a cat because there's like soft, fuzzy hair. Alright. And that will pull pull through from the other side, so I don't have to take that pressure fitted washer on, that pressure fitted thing. So I think we're ready to let the spring down. I let it run all night just to see if it would wind down. It's still pretty loose on my clamp, so I'm going to let this down. Okay, key, my let down key. Let's see if this will fit in my homemade let down key.